All right. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name is Murphy Namdi Chuba, and this is our first video edition of Murphy's Notes podcast. We have some guests here with me. We're going to be talking about Murphy's Notes first of all, and then we'll talk about other things like life principles, success principles, and we'll just let the conversation flow. So I have my friends here with me, my very good friends. Wale and Aghogho on time. But Wale will be the one to moderate the conversation for today. So I'll hand over to Wale to take it up.
Really honored to be featured on Murphy's Notes. I'm sure Aghogho is as well. So yeah, we've kind of like heard a lot. I know personally, I kind of try to listen to each installment you bless us with every Sunday. So yeah, the Murphy's Notes has been critically a part of my Sunday routine or my gym sessions. Normally hear you, talking in my ear and stuff. I think just to perhaps open the floor, I would like to, I don't know, possibly ask first of all, like, Murphy's Notes is about 1 year.
Yeah,
Yes.
24th of December last year was
Wow,
when we
fantastic.
premiered.
So, what has been like your motivation? I'm sure doing 52 weeks is not,
For 1 year.
for 1 year, it's not an easy thing. So,
Yeah.
what has been your major fuel?
Did you feel at any point that in or it was just every Sunday?
I failed at 3 points.
Oh,
maybe more than three.
I
So
didn't notice.
I didn't notice
Murphy
it.
always posts every
I know I always get notifications, so I don't know how
yeah.
it feels.
Okay. So the plan was to post for 52 weeks for a whole year. But there were 2 weeks I defaulted, 2 consecutive weeks. So I traveled, and then for those 2 weeks I was in transit. So
Yeah.
I was actually traveling on this Sunday for those 2 weeks. So it turned out that it just messed up my entire schedule. Then aside from those 2 weeks, there were about 2 or 3 times that I couldn't post on Sunday before. Like, so there were days I posted like 11:59 p.m. on Sunday, just to ensure that it was Sunday. Then there were like 2 or 3 times where I had to post like after, like early morning on Monday. There was one day I posted like 12:30 a.m., 4 a.m. But the whole idea is that between Sunday and early Monday, I posted. So we did 50, skipped only 2 weeks.
So, I think I know AJ will probably have like one question or two to ask about your journey with your podcast or
Yeah.
with this podcast so far. But I think personally, one thing I've kind of found quite interesting or curious about is how do you stay fresh with ideas? I know personally, like, I definitely cannot come up with, but I noticed that week in week out, and it's not just the ideas actually. For being honest, it's the quality of the topics you come up with. There's one I remember, the one that talks about, I believe it's short people matter. I think I really enjoyed that episode.
Yeah,
it's probably one
a
of
lot of
my
people, a lot of
one of
people
my
actually
favorites.
enjoy
Yeah.
that particular.
So how do you come up with these topics and fresh ideas as well? How do you do that?
And
So
before you answer that,
yeah,
I remembered trying to go through the podcast from the first episode. I started very late.
Yeah.
And I was able to go through like 10
Mhm.
episodes.
Oh.
And from what I realized that you were one episode like leads to another.
Yes, they're
leads to another.
connected. Yeah.
How are
Yeah.
you able to like ensure that flow? Is it like you kept all these topics somewhere?
To be fair, it's possible. Maybe you have like these big notes of ideas.
When I started Murphy's Notes, I didn't have all the ideas. As a matter of fact, I probably didn't have more than my first episode or my first 2 episodes when I started. As a matter of fact, I actually have somewhere. I have like a note where a digital notes where I write my ideas. Whenever they come, I just write them down. There are ideas on that note that I have not I've not even touched. I've not touched some powers. So there's some so there are ideas I've not. But what happens is usually even when I write down those ideas before the Sunday comes for me to record a new episode, I probably will get a new idea that I think is more relevant to what's happening currently and what I have on my paper. So that's how the ideas come, and that's one thing I think that maybe would inspire someone. You really don't need to have the entire thing figured out when you want to start. Sometimes, for there are certain things that you need to have a proper laid out plan before you begin. But then a lot of things in life, you don't necessarily need a full plan. You just need to, okay, this is my end game.
Plan
And
up to
then
an extent.
I understand the first 2, 3 or first 5 steps. Let's just take it up from there. Sometimes you just have to wing it, and that's really what I've been doing, to be honest.
I think you've been winging it successfully.
Yeah, I think.
That's fine. And another question is this, right? Because I'm very sure that a lot of people listen to the podcast, like from young, old, and all of that. And when it comes to podcasts, I have to deal with you teaching out advice. If you are
Everybody's
like
giving advice these
20
days.
something, if you are like 20 something and you're like,
Boy,
you
you
to
tell me what to
advise
do.
people of different
Age brackets,
age
yeah.
brackets and all of that. Have you ever had anybody call you to say, see, this thing you said is not correct?
Well, not necessarily. I don't think anybody has outright told me that what I've said is not correct. But I've had one or two people that have sort of like challenged some of the ideas I've shared. So, when somebody comes and say, this thing you said, I don't completely agree with it. But then I try to clarify, okay, maybe you didn't understand what I said. I give better context, okay. So this is what I was trying to talk about, and then we have a conversation, and then we're on the same page. But I've not had anyone come to tell me, oh, this is completely, I don't completely agree with it.
So,
Yeah.
so if you were to share like what has possibly been your most difficult, or perhaps the most difficult aspect in your process in creating an episode, what would you say it is for you?
I would say that the most difficult thing for me is the scripting.
The scripting.
Yeah.
Sorry, just to be clear to those listening, when you say scripting, is it that you literally pen down every word you say, like?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Let me just I'll probably just put it out there. Yes, I do.
Wow.
Yeah, so because I was trying my best to keep the thoughts concise, most of the episodes are really like 5 to 7 minutes long. I try not to go beyond that because someone might just want to just get that piece and move on with their lives. So because I want to keep it short, and because I don't want to stutter as well, sometimes that stuttering can also kind of distort things. So if you watch most of the episodes, I don't stutter. I just
it's always
through.
it's always perfect.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the reason why I
So
don't
you
stutter.
reading it from yourself?
Yeah, I actually read it from the script.
Oh, so you have read that script like how many times? How many takes do you have to
Oh,
I think
this
that's
this
another
particular
question.
question.
No, because I know people who, even with scripts, right?
Yeah.
They normally have to go over it maybe 2 times, 3 times.
Yeah.
So for you, for the Murphy Nambio Trooper, how
Man.
many times do you have to go
This
over
particular question. So, I mean, for you to see a 5 minute or 7 minute episode, there have been times when I've recorded one thing maybe like 30, 40 times.
Do you mean like
Literally?
for each episode? Or
Not
is it like
not
you are
each
doing-
episode. So I've had the best case scenario and the worst case scenario.
okay, tell me
So-
worst case scenario.
I'll start from the best case scenario. Best
Okay,
case scenario is
okay.
that I just record once and it goes like happens. I think the
How
episode
many times
50,
has that happened?
maybe 3, 4, 5 times. I hardly ever record just once.
What did you eat?
So, but there was a day I got really frustrated because it was like when I record, at some point I'll just make a mistake. And I try not. There were 1 or 2 episodes where there was some stuttering. I just ignored it and left. But I mean, most of the time, the aim is to keep it perfect, right?
Yeah.
That's the kind of person I am. But I notice that sometimes perfection is not. You really can't attain perfection, so you just have to manage it how it is. But there were times when I recorded this one thing about maybe 30, 40 times. I think there was a particular day. That day I was almost just giving up. I spent about 7 hours on it that day, or 8 hours. I'm not even joking. It was that
Were
bad.
the words were they difficult words to pronounce? Or was the
Not
idea
really.
hard to pass?
Not really. I had already done the scripting because, like, ideally, the scripting is the part that takes me the most time. The recording, for me, I don't think recording doesn't take me as much time. But that particular day, I had done the scripting and I was just trying to record, and I'll record maybe 2 minutes or 1 minute, and then I'll just make a very big blunder, and I'm like, no. So, but one thing I did that helped me. Usually, I try to just do it in one run and then post, but sometimes it's not always possible. So one thing I think that helped me to overcome that, because I think that happened like much earlier, maybe in season 1 or early season 2. What happened is I started to record in bits and then put them together.
Okay.
So I record. So when I record and I get to a point that I fail or maybe I make a mistake, I stop. I start from maybe 5 seconds or 10 seconds earlier, record again. So when I'm editing, I just cut out those parts, put them together, and then that's it.
That's cool. Maybe one of these days you could, I don't know, produce a masterclass on how to go about podcasts, because I know that even some of your listeners and other people, they might want to start their own private
Yeah, I
stuff,
mean, it's
So you would have more people would have really gotten better over after doing like 50 episodes.
I told you 1 year.
yeah,
producing.
it was actually a lot of
Do you
work.
ever like get like a external help? Maybe you outsource some parts of the production process.
At all. So in terms of the production process, it's not difficult. Like I said, the most difficult part for me is the scripting.
Hmm.
But once I'm done scripting and I want to, start recording, it's just a three-step process. I don't even use any mic. This is the first time I'm using a mic to do anything.
Yeah.
So I did not have any special equipment so far. What I just used was my phone. There's an app a friend of mine shared, Dolby.
Yeah.
I just
Dolby.
used it to, yeah. I've also tried using like my normal phone recorder. The only difference was that the Dolby was louder,
Yeah.
right? But in terms of clarity, it was good. So I record with Dolby and I pass it through another. Like, there's an AI tool actually, a very beautiful AI tool that doesn't require me to do any work. I just upload it.
The
Click.
tool, is it paid? Or?
Yeah, it's free. It's
free.
free. But I mean, generally, I just record it, upload it to the AI tool. It's called Adobe something. I've forgotten the full name, but I just have the link on my.
Link that.
Yeah, I'll put it in the comments. So I record it. I post it on the Adobe tool, and then within like 1 minute or 2 minutes, it's done enhancing it. So it makes it very clear. So if the difference between the raw recording and the cleaned recording is very huge. So that's why my voice sounds very, very nice.
It sounded like Ramsey Noah.
Yeah. So
Nice.
I mean that's just so when I do that, I do that. I record. That's the first step one. I record.
Yeah.
Step, of course, after scripting. Scripting is supposed to be like the step one, but I record. I post it. I put it on Adobe to clean it, and then I upload it on Spotify.
So I guess we probably wouldn't bore the audience with more technical bits about podcast production or audio editing. We'll probably want to go on to the next phase of our discussion. Sure. So one of the things we'll be touching on today, I think it's something that Office Note is also heavily about. It's just general life success principles. Yeah. Touching on some of the things that relates to prioritization when you talk about like as a young man, young woman, just coming up in life. What you kind of like want to prioritize just to be successful. I know it's a personal subject for most people, so that's why I think we'll just get our own turns to just share what our thoughts are. So to perhaps open the floor, I will throw this to you first, Murphy.
Okay.
Generally,
no, anyway, it's fine. Go ahead.
No, definitely, everybody will get it. It's coming. All right. So perhaps we'll probably just start with what do you think as a young person is kind of like important in terms of what you hold as a priority when coming up. Your options are, love, romantic relationships, or the bag, money and stuff. The way we have our Afrobeat stars always talk about, securing the bag and stuff like that, or perhaps career. So if you're coming up, and please understand that obviously good proper love isn't something that just happens, every weekend, or maybe you might hold a different personal opinion. So what do you think personally should be prioritized?
Okay, they're all very important. There's one of the podcast episodes where I mentioned that I believe that you can have it all. There are people that believe that you can't have it all. You must either be very successful in your career or successful in your marriage, or I believe you can have it all. However, you may not have it all to the same depth. You have to find a way to balance things.
Okay.
So
balance.
yeah,
Okay.
you have to find a balance. So if you put all your energy into one aspect, the other ones might suffer. So you have to like balance. So, for me, one thing I prioritize above everything else in my life, aside from of course the God factor, is relationships. Not just romantic relationships, like relationships in general, relationships with people, and a lot of people in a bid to secure the bag, in your words, and of course that's the general slang. In a bid to secure the bag, a lot of people end up throwing away valuable relationships or neglecting valuable relationships. But then at the end of the day, you find out that that's why they say it's lonely at the top, because people just run to the top. They just want to keep going, irrespective of whose ox is God. They just want to keep going and going. And
but at least they are at the top.
They are the top.
Well, I actually have a very very personal reservation.
Yeah. But let me land. So, but money is important to me. All of those things are important to me. When I talk about relationship, the reason why I value relationships above everything else is this: there are certain doors that, I mean, I think I talked about this with you yesterday. There are certain doors that I'm able to open a lot more easily because I have a good relationship with the people behind those doors, right? So if I've had some dealings with someone in the past and I was able to render some kind of help to them, whether financially or otherwise. It's just human nature. There's a good chance that when I need this person to help me out in one way or the other, when they think about the fact that we've had something in the past, we've had some relationships, they would feel, I don't want to use the word indebted, but I mean,
Yeah.
people would naturally, that's
Go
human
out
nature.
of their way to
Yeah.
They
help.
want to go out of their way to help you just because somehow you've probably helped them in the past, So it's human nature, and I've seen it play out in my life a lot of times. That's why I would always value
Okay.
relationships
Okay.
over most
Fair enough.
things.
Fair
Yeah,
enough.
and of course it also helps with the money aspect too, because I mean there are some recommendations someone can do for you, help you with,
Yeah.
just because
Yeah. Okay. Fair. So Agogo, let's come to you. So
But
again.
why?
Sorry, sir. So His Royal Highness. Okay, so
One
AG.
age.
AG.
All right, AG. So what would you say, on this matter? Would you like me to repeat the question, or you just want to run
No,
into
no,
it?
I get the question. The idea is when it comes to success, right? A lot of people have different definitions, and one
Yeah.
thing that really affects the definition of success to people is where they grow up, the environment.
Yeah,
For
true.
instance, someone who grew up from poor, wretched background
Yeah.
would term success to be you having money.
Mhm.
Is this somebody who grew up from a wealthy family? Might term success to be having, or maybe, yeah, they were wealthy, but the home was not really together. To that person, success
His
is
family.
having a family that
Yeah.
is together,
Yeah,
because the money part is taken for granted. Like, oh
exactly.
yeah, I should have money. And to somebody who probably has all their siblings or their family or their mother and their father being professors or something.
Success might be having a PhD
Exactly.
at
No,
25.
not even having a PhD. They might success might be you having like the count number of degrees. Not like having one PhD. You
Yeah,
people say
for
I have
PhDs.
what are you doing for life that you're having that number of, you
Degrees.
understand? There must be
Without
something
some
that
applicability at
exactly
least.
there must be something that you are seeing that other people are
No,
not.
see, exactly.
So I'm talking you now as an individual, right?
For me,
Yeah.
for me, success goes more than if I look at these three areas, right, and my own view, right, I agree with the relationship part, right, having like good relationship, but if the relationship part cannot, if it cannot be converted into
Tangible assets.
I'm trying to be careful with my words so that people don't
Yeah.
misconstrue.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying.
I'm already misconstrued.
So,
Because you're trying to say that your relationships are transactional.
No,
no, you see,
no.
I'm already misconstrued now, so maybe you can clarify.
So what I'm saying is,
Yeah.
right, relationships that can be converted into tangible realities versus that.
So
right?
that means
It makes a lot of sense.
you only like foster and encourage relationship with folks who have potential of bringing some value to the
I don't
table.
only
Or you
foster that.
preferably
I look towards
you look towards
those
that.
kind of
Actively
relationships.
seek such relationships.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's
And
more.
the point is, whoever you have a relationship with, right, you can actually steer them to actually get to the point where they can now
They can bring like
bring
their of value.
like
even if-
exactly. So because people, someone might see you as a friend, right, but might not necessarily know they can succeed with having you as their friend.
Yeah.
And someone's success, right, could actually lead to you maybe not being successful, but you getting some form of satisfaction from something you might require due to that person.
Yeah.
Because that person might have access to doors
Yeah.
that you don't have access to.
Yeah, I think we
So
still somewhat
exactly,
related to what I said. Yeah.
if they are successful,
Yeah.
in fact, if I have Murphy here,
Mhm.
Murphy is very successful, so he has access to some doors.
And you have access to
I
other
have
doors.
access to
So we
other
both have
doors.
access to
Exactly.
more doors.
So you see, let me play devil's advocate a bit. And audience or listeners, you guys will forgive me. So I don't know.
They will not forgive
They
you.
will forgive you. But you know Lex Luthor, right? You know Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor is the arch enemy of Superman. So Superman is this all powerful, well, quote unquote god from Krypton,
I know
right?
Superman, yeah.
Yeah, and he's on Earth,
Yeah.
and he likes this lady called Lois. Superman and Lois, they became a thing eventually. However, I think Lex either had a thing for Lois or just some kind of enmity for Superman, and he really just caused problems for Superman. Now, why am I bringing Lex up? Now, Lex was a guy in the town or in the city that had lots of money. Do you understand?
Yeah.
He had lots of money, and because of his affluence, rather because of his money, he built affluence, and he was able to put himself in corridors of power and places where decisions were being made.
Yeah.
And he made life really difficult for Lois and Superman. Now, you guys are saying, I think a bit of what you said and a whole lot of what Murphy said is that okay, I do value and prioritize relationships, and I
Yeah.
understand. But let's remember that all three of us, we came up from backgrounds that were in third world nations. So we're not going to assume for ourselves in any shape, way, or form that okay, we're growing up in one of these tier one countries where at least love or money and stuff like that isn't necessarily transactional. So wouldn't you say, like for quote unquote again, a hustling youth in Nigeria or Accra or
wherever, yeah.
wherever in a third world nation, wouldn't you say that
We are
for
calling this third one.
yeah, I mean,
It's fine.
I won't lie to
The
you.
carrier purchase.
I will lie for you. Obviously,
All right, but that's
Nigeria
fine.
is what it is, right?
Yeah.
So, for someone coming up in that kind of environment, remember the three, the tripod, well, hierarchy or branch of importances that I mentioned initially.
Yeah.
Where there is
Money.
relationship,
Yeah.
there is money,
Yeah.
and then there's career.
Career. I feel like money
Now,
and career kind
I
of
think
go
money and
together.
career probably even tied,
Go
right?
together,
So
yeah.
maybe they are like binary instead.
Not always.
Oh, just relax. Maybe most
Not
times.
always.
No, there's also business and investments and all that.
So what I'm trying to point out eventually is that please,
I'm not
no shade, shade to props.
I did not hear that.
We're ignoring
I
the
did not.
comment.
That,
We're
I
moving
did not hear
forward.
that.
No, why? All right. I'm not supposed to laugh this time. Okay, so back to what I was trying to point out, right?
Yeah.
So, is it possible that growing up in Lagos or Abuja or Asaba or Accra or wherever?
How you not mention Port Harcourt in this
Oh,
scene?
sorry. Port Harcourt. I'm sorry. All right. So growing up in one of these cities in third world nations, right? Is it possible that it would be probably more important or relevant if you were to, in all honesty, chase the bag? Because if you start
forget about everything else and just chase the bag, or
obviously
de-emphasize them.
It's not de-emphasization is kind of like what I'm really pointing towards. Now, if I grow up 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and I'm prioritizing relationships, what does that mean? It means I'm probably the most altruistic guy you've ever met. I'm lovely, I'm nice, I help old women cross the road. And I'm just doing all these lovely things because I'm trying to foster and encourage beautiful relationships. And that's nice. They'll probably applaud me, right? But living in the reality of a third world nation means that I am susceptible to wiles of poverty, penury, scarcity, all those other crazy stuff that happen in third world nations. However, if I prioritize back securing, and I if I'm hopefully pursuing it in the legal line where maybe I'm chasing my career, I'm getting more competent there, or I'm doing a business, or I'm doing something that's just bringing me money, I might have all this love in my heart. But eventually, if I stick with that program for 3, 4, 5 years or 7 years, I will eventually get myself to a point where I have enough financial resources
to be able to
communicate
help people
as
that
much love and even foster people will even love me more. I'm just saying now. I'm playing devil's advocate. So what would you have to say to that?
It depends on how you think you are going to foster that love, or how you think you're going to get to that point. Actually,
I'll probably just buy it.
Sorry. In the process of you getting to that point, you might get to that point and actually go through things that will take out love from you.
Yeah. Many of people
So do I understand that? I'm not sure I understand that.
I actually understand what he's saying.
Imagine you're like trying to secure the bag, and you
step on
have
toes.
business partners. You step on toes, and at the point when you finally get the money, you're just like, you know what,
Meaningless.
means anything to me at
Exactly.
this point in time. If you want to, the way I suffer,
And then you start feeling like people are coming for you
you start
for your
hearing
money.
people saying things like,
I suffer.
some parents
Yeah.
tell their children that I suffered for my money. I can help you when you are done with school. You go and suffer your own. Like this is real. Like there are parents who leave their kids and they just leave them. They are wealthy. You can see that these people they were wealthy when they were in school with you, and then you guys are done with school, and that guy is giving you CV to submit somewhere, and you're like, ah, guy, what's your? What is it? Ah, my father said all of us should hustle for ourselves. You hear things like that, and you're like so shocked. So that's whole bit of them getting to where they are.
Yeah.
That's taking that whole relationship, every other thing.
Okay,
Out. Yeah.
so Murphy, just to like maybe double down or maybe have a contrarian opinion, what would you say?
What would I say about what exactly?
Like, so like what I said initially,
Mhm.
adopting this money first mentality and just going for the bag. And I really, really want you to think about the reality of living in
Yeah,
a place with
objectivity.
scarce opportunities and means.
So
What would you
one
say
thing
is
I would
better?
agree with you on is that if you really, if you are someone that is very kind-hearted and you have a lot of love in your heart to give to people, money is a very huge enabler. Like
It
it's
really
it's a
is.
huge enabler.
It is.
It's not just about romantic relationships, like relationship in general. If you want to really show love to even your parents or to yours, I mean, there are things that you can do for them that would not necessarily require money. But in a lot of cases, when there's money, especially if there's good money,
You will do a lot.
you will do you will do a
Definitely.
lot.
Definitely.
So I,
Yes.
I would definitely not say that you should neglect chasing the bag and focus on relationships, right? What I would just say is that, like I said, my own principle is I I'm chasing the bag. Obviously, I'm, I'm a young person, so we should be, and of course, I've not gotten to where I want to be yet, but I'm chasing the bag. But at the same time, while you're chasing the bag, there are times when you might have to, I don't want to use the word slow down a bit, but there are times when certain things require your attention. You might have to play down a bit on chasing the bag for a bit of time just because you need to do certain things that maybe a
It
day
depends
or
on where you are. If you are in Nigeria where the economy is not slowing down for you, for
no, it's not. What I mean is that
you.
while you are chasing the bag, there are things there are things that money can buy.
Yeah.
There are moments that are cherished. For example,
Yeah.
you might have, let's say, you have a family member who is in the hospital. For example, while you're chasing the bag,
Yeah.
you now say, okay, because I'm chasing the bag and I have important business appointments, then you now leave them, or you don't visit them in the hospital, or you don't spend time with them, and then maybe whatever happened, maybe that person passes, and then you now live forever with that guitar. If I could get one more moment with this person, or so what I'm just trying to say is that there are certain, this is just one example, but there are certain cases where you might have to drop certain balls for a bit of time just so that,
That's just the balance
yeah,
that comes with
that's the balance I'm
you
talking about here.
having
So
success across.
chase the bag by all means, but
But like
don't neglect relationships in the
this would be like
process.
the second to the last comment I'll probably have on this subject.
Yeah.
In trying to establish a balance, dropping the ball at different times of even intermittently in order to create that
Mm.
healthy ecosystem. Are you sure that maybe the people that you would probably drop the ball for
We'll,
as
we'll drop the ball for you when
no
it comes when the tables are turned. Is that what you're
No,
trying?
it's not whether you're dropping the ball for someone to get something in return. You don't
you're
necessarily
just
do
doing
that.
what you're doing
Yeah, you
You
do
for
it
just do it
because
because you think
the
that's
right
what
thing
makes
to
sense.
do at that
you
time.
understand.
Yeah.
Not necessarily because
If you
most
want to
times
if you want to
you
do
do
it
that
for people to do it
you
back,
don't
you will be
really
very
So
yeah.
disappointed.
what can we unanimously agree to be like a worthy recommendation for someone young living, in one of these cities we've mentioned, in terms of prioritization? Because I know of folks personally who ruthlessly pursued the bag and they are well off now. And while they still maintain prudence and all those other good morals in terms of money management,
Mhm.
they are seen to be important and relevant people. Imagine folks who were not necessarily emotionally available just because they were all sold out to the dream, and they eventually got that dream, and now people still, address them because they need, what they've been able to secure. And there are other folks who were just, liberal, loving, available, and stuff. And I mean,
They
nothing
just
has really changed. Sorry to say, like for some people, right?
yeah.
Nothing has really, really changed. So in terms of establish the balance, because I personally feel like that's what we've been able to agree on. So what can we say to be like a recommendation in terms of conduct and approach in terms of prioritization?
I should go first. So, to me, right, I think generally it depends on where you live, like I said, and what you want to see.
Yep.
Success is not supposed to mean the same thing to everyone. And there are people who know a lot of people but don't really have money. There's no need you know a lot of people. What are you doing with it? You understand? And you don't because there's nobody to help
There's
you
nobody
when
to
you
When
need
you
help.
need the help, yeah.
It doesn't make sense for you to start those relationships and ensure that you have relationships that can actually help you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
But help
that's
is not
very
just with money
important.
now. There are
No,
other
no,
types
I
of
know.
help.
What I'm saying is,
In third
if
world
you are
nations,
lacking,
it's mostly money,
if
sir.
you are lacking somewhere, you need to check the other parts and see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If let's say
If you need to
have
de-emphasize on
exactly,
something so that you can focus more on
exactly, so
others.
you can focus more on others because, and to me, the crux of the matter is for you to actually have meaningful relationships because human resources is like the greatest asset
It really is.
you can have as a human being.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
that cuts across every other thing we're talking about.
Mhm.
So if you have human assets, you can actually do well in school.
Yeah.
If you have human assets or human resources, you can actually have the bag you want to chase. You just need one good connection for you to be able to get to. So the crux of the matter is it still comes back to you for you to actually have human assets, have a good character. So if your character is on point, there's a tendency you are actually going to you're on the right path. It's
Yeah.
not certain that you're going to, you understand?
Yeah.
That's sweet balance.
So there are people who tell you things like, I have money, character has nothing to do with it. If you have money and you are saying that, I won't be too concerned. But when you don't have money, you don't have bad character. You cannot even foster relationship.
Yeah, that's like a very
That's a terrible one. I don't like for male and females. I know most people are from Nigeria or from Africa,
Yeah.
and in Africa we actually hold relationships and all these things. Yeah, ourselves,
Yeah,
family.
we do.
Exactly. But now the world is changing and people are like saying, oh, it doesn't matter if you get married, you can just live your life.
Live your life the way you
But to
Just
be
want.
marry a
honest
big
with
man.
you, to be honest with you, if I want to look at maybe my parents or elderly ones or my grandparents when they were really old and they needed somebody to take care of them, they fell back on the family they had actually built up
Yeah,
to actually take care of them. Now I know people will say things like, "Oh, you have options to
if you have money, you definitely
exactly."
have options, yeah.
But at the end of the day, no one will take care of you like
Your family, yeah.
So that's like a good balance for you to look at and say,
Yeah.
okay, yeah,
All right.
this makes sense.
Murphy, 2 sentences. What do you say? Basically, what we're coming to is, we've established that balance is kind of like the recommended watchword, right?
Yeah.
So, basically, the statement or the question that we're asking is, in terms of balance, how would you suggest it for someone who's living in a third world country? Because we know how important relationships are, but equally
Yes.
important is
Money.
back securing.
Yeah.
What would you say?
Yeah, to be honest, I think that
That's graceful.
for a young person, well, I don't know if I can listen to that, but I'll try. For a young person, yes, you should secure the bag, you should chase the bag by all means, and give it your best, you put your whole self into it. But at the same time, you shouldn't do it at the expense of um, important relationships, right? Not all relationships are going to be important, actually. You will know a lot of people. I know a lot of people. I have a lot of people in my I won't say my circle, but I mean there are different circles. Like I have a lot of people, but you know a lot of people, but obviously not all relationships have the same level of importance.
Yeah.
So you should know the important relationships, but while you're trying to pursue and secure the bag, just ensure that you do not neglect or you do not drop the ball on the important relationship, like family relationship, like valuable friendships. I mean, imagine how far we've all come together. Like I've known Aghogho for like since like more than 12, 13 years now, and I have pictures of where we were in the trenches, like where I told you one
And that
picture
was
him
not
like
really like trench.
it was not really like trenches.
Just
As at
just
then,
young.
do you get that? That was just. But I'm just saying that like over time, we've both grown, right? We both experienced some level of growth. And when you look at us then and us now, as much as we were both chasing the bag, we are still chasing the bag. We were still able to maintain that relationship, and I mean, it's still part of what has helped us to sustain even the bag we are chasing. Because I mean, there are certain times that I need him to come through for me, not even financially. Like, oh, I need something from you. I need to help you with something. You do it, and that's just one person. Like I have other relationships like that. I'm just saying that there are important relationships that there are times when you might have to choose between I have a money appointment and I have a relationship appointment. Which do I choose? You might have to make those choices at some point, truthfully. There, there, but, but, but you see, what I think that just to wrap up my comment, what I think that can help in those cases is if I prioritize my relationships on the days it matters, right? Then on the days where I really need to prioritize my business relationships or maybe it's money or whatever, those people have built enough emotional
You've had enough
I've devoted enough in my
investment.
emotional bank with those people for them to understand why I cannot be there for them in those moments. So I'm just saying that balance has to be there. Chase the bag by all means, but ensure that you know your most important relationships and try not to drop the ball on them.
All right. So I think that pretty much sums it up for today's episode. What we've been able to come to unanimously is, identify relationships that matter.
Yeah.
Chase the bag as well, but don't sacrifice those relationships.
We didn't talk about education.
Yeah, we are. I mean, the bag at this level. I mean, at this part, education really. I mean, maybe probably for another.
I feel like that's another very important.
The way the world is really advancing, we're basically just moving at a pace that traditional systems and institutions for education is fizzling out.
The thing is, I've noticed that when you hear somebody who speaks French, the first thing that comes to your mind is
No, that's not me. That's not me. Yeah, I know people that speak French will not see come out.
I'm talking about your perception.
My perception of them is that they are educated.
Wow. Me personally, when I hear someone who speaks really well, first thing that comes to my mind depends on where I am. So if I hear them speak really well in Lagos, I assume they're well traveled.
Well,
If I hear them speak really well in Lagos,
this person,
I know you
don't.
You understand? But I mean, education is definitely it isn't like as black and white as it was back in the 90s.
No, it has changed drastically.
So it's something we probably will discuss much later.
I think it would be nice for us to talk about it.
I would like to, on behalf of Murphy, doing the honors of being the first non-Murphy
host of the Murphy's Nose podcast.
To probably just put a final piece to this first pilot edition of the video podcast. A big thank you for the honor, and thank you to AJ as well for.
Thank you so much for having
me. This has been fun actually. We had fun.
I really enjoyed it.
I hope you guys enjoyed yourselves as well. So this would be where we're putting the pin to it. If you're still watching, thank you. Subscribe to the podcast. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're on YouTube.
Sunday.
How many seasons do you have in a year?
We were able to run 3 seasons in this 1 year. So first season had about 17 episodes. Had about 10 episodes. Second season had about 17. Then the third season had about 20 something episodes.
And it's not bad as well, seeing how well we flowed, without a script. So that's another thing. So thank you guys for joining and tuning in. On behalf of Office Notes and AG, till next time.
All right. So just final word from me as well. Like you said, subscribe. We're on Spotify, YouTube, Music, Apple,
I think we're
Apple Music, and Amazon Music, and then we also have an Instagram page at Murphy's Notes. So
at Murphy's Notes, you should follow.
So just follow us on Instagram to see the content we drop. And thank you very much once again. Thanks Wale, and thanks Aghogho.
All right, cheers. Bye.
Keep being amazing. My name is Murphy Namdi Ochuba.